started to do? So what I've started to do is I have started to mention the verse that we are doing the Nama in. Okay, if you see the message also I have sent. Nirnasha Mrityumathani. So Nirabadha Nirbheda Bhedanashini Nirnasha Mrityumathani Nishkriya Nishparigraha. So I've put the verse because it's good to stay in the context of the verse that we are doing the Nama in. So I'll just take you to verse 41. Okay. So verse 41 is this is all right. This is the verse we are in. No, not verse 41. What is that verse?
49.
49. You're right. Sorry. Verse 49. Nirvikalpa nirabadha nirbheda bhedanashini nirnasha mrityumathani nishkriya nishparigraha. Okay. The last session we saw nirvikalpa nirabadha nirbheda bhedanashini. We spent a lot of time around what is bheda. We understood the Vedantic perspective, what bheda, what are the different kinds of bheda, and what it means by she is nirbheda and what it means by she removes bheda. That is what we saw in the last session. So now we will look at nirnasha mrityumathani nishkriya nishparigraha. Okay. So nirnasha. Nirnasha means she is one who cannot be destroyed. Who cannot be destroyed. Nirnasha. Nanashayati, cannot be destroyed. So she cannot be destroyed means what? That she is always available, which means there is nothing that can be destroyed, which means it is not that she is created. Anything that gets created gets destroyed. Correct? Anything that is born, there's something called as the six avasthas. Everything goes through, an object goes through. Asti, jayate. Asti is to be, then jayate is to be born, then it grows, vardhate, then viparinamate. Viparinamate is changes. Then
Kshiyate, is it?
Kshiyate. It decays and then vinashyati. It is destroyed. So it's created. Asti means it is there, then it is born, it comes into being, then it grows, then it changes, it decays, and it dies. These are the six different states any object in this objective world goes through changes. Now she is nirnasha. She is something that cannot be destroyed. She is something that cannot be destroyed because she is not born. Na jayate, hence na nashayati. Now, what does it mean that she is not born and she doesn't die and all that? Means she is always available to us whenever you want her. Whenever you want to connect with her, whenever you want to perceive her within you, she's available for you. Correct? Is there a time that you want to think of Devi and you're not able to think of her? If you want to think of her, you can think of her. If you will, if there's a will, you want to think of her, you will be able to think of her. The problem is we are not able to stop thinking of other things. Because Our minds are not able to stop thinking of other things. We are not unable to bring the focus and attention to the form of Devi or that principle or that Aham Tattva or Chaitanya, whatever, right? So Nirnasha is, you will never find that she's destroyed, which also means that you are never destroyed, indestructible. What is that shloka in the verse in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2?
Nainam chindanti shastrani nainam.
क्या बात है, थैंक यू।
पावकः
नयनं दहति पावकः न क्लेदयन्तापः न शोषयति मारुतः। नयनं छिन्दन्ति शस्त्राणि नयनं दहति पावकः न क्लेदयन्त आपः न शोषयति मारुतः. It cannot be made wet, it can't be made dried, you can't do anything to it, you can't kill it. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire.
Udaji, I have a question here, if I may. Like that Nainam Chindanti, like they talk about 4 out of the Panchabhutas. If you see, fire, water, air, right? And of course, Shastrani is, I can take it as earth, right? Earth elements, something like that, right? So then why Akasha is left out? Or is that has nothing to do with Panchabhutas? I mean, I just a question mark.
No, because Akasha does not have, it is the substratum. It doesn't have an impact on another element. See, Akasha is like saying the Turiya Avastha. It doesn't have, it is not, from it everything else is born. Apas, Prithvi, Agni, Vayu, everything is born from. Correct? Akashad Vayu, Vayor Agni, Agnir Apas, Abhyaf Prithvi. So it is born from Akasha, and Akasha is the container. And that is why Akasha in itself cannot have an influence on something in the way Vayu, Agni, Apas, and Prithvi can have. And that is why it is used, only those 4 elements are used here to show that these are the ones that can have an impact on it, yet it cannot. These 4 elements can have an impact on everything else, but it can't have on the Chaitanya Atma. Correct, right? So that is why Akasha, that is why it is kept out, because it's not. In fact, if you know, you must know the Panchi Karana process. Akasha is actually existing in all of that. Akasha is the source from which all of these elements come out. Similar to saying Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasagandha, Shabda is the basis of all the other Tanmatras. So like that, Akasha is the basis. Hence, the other 4 have an active engagement in the world, in the objective world. Akasha doesn't have an active engagement. Akasha is the substratum. So that is why it's mentioned that way. Now, so she is, when you say Nirnasha, it cannot be modified, it can't be changed, it can't be destroyed. That means means I cannot be destroyed. I cannot be modified. I am not born, hence I am not going to die. Now, this I here is essentially, we are not talking about the physical I. We are not talking about the mind I. We are not talking about the intellect I. We are talking about the I that is able to perceive the body, mind, and the intellect. And in our experience, it never dies really. In your experience, and we've spoken about this several times, right? In our experience, you never die in your experience. In fact, it takes us to the next, it's very beautiful. The next Vakya or the next mantra is Mrityu Mathanyai Namaha. It's the same thing. You cannot die. Hence, there is no fear of death. Mrityu Mathani. She removes the fear of death. Why? It is not that she comes and removes the fear of death saying that, I will make sure that nothing happens to you. No, you can't die. It's this. Many of us would have read this WhatsApp forward. There's this child who's going in a flight, and the flight undergoes severe turbulence. Everybody is panicking, but this child is nicely, beautifully reading a book, and it's not at all disturbed. And then at the end of it, it settles down and everybody's clapping. Oh, it's all well, nice and all that. And then people around are really surprised how this little child wasn't perturbed at all. While everybody was panicking and shouting and shrieking and all that when the flight was going through turbulence, they came and asked, how is it possible? And the child said, no, my father is the pilot. So I don't think he'll care about any of you guys, but he will definitely care about me. So he'll definitely take me to safety. That's such a profound thing, right? If we just elevate this to the level where we say that this divinity that is in me, it is protecting me. That is why these are called mantraha. Mantraha. Mananat trayate iti mantraha. It saves you from the mind. It saves you. Trayate is a very important word in spiritual. Tara Devi. Trayate is very important because biggest problem that we carry is fear. And the fundamental fear that we carry is of death. Death of what? Death of this personality. So Nirnasha says you can't die, you are indestructible. Mrityu Mathani says she removes that fear of death. Now Mathani is also an interesting word. Word is also used as Manthan. Manthan means to churn. Mathani is the one who churns. So what does she churn out of you? Mrityu. Because if you break down every fear, every kind of fear that you carry, you bring it down, you will see the least common factor is the fear of death. The fear of death means the fear of losing myself. Losing myself means the fear of losing who I think I am right now. The definition of myself that I carry, the personality, the death of that. Jiddu Krishnamurti very beautifully says this. He says, actually, when you look at it, what is it that you fear when you fear death? You don't fear death itself, because the pain of death is only brief moment. Correct? Whatever pain, suppose there's an accident or you have a cardiac arrest or we have whatever reason we find our end, we die. You look at that moment of death is very short. Or the pain rather. The pain of transition is very short. So in that sense, the actual experience of death is really very short-lived. What you were, this body, mind, intellect complex, suddenly you are not that. You are not that body. But you are something. Now we don't know. It's hard for us to determine what we are then. Right? People say that, oh, when you die, if you pray to this Lord, you will go like this. You will go to, there are these different kinds of moksha and all of that, right? Sayujya, Sarupya, Salokya, Samipya. All of that, there are different kinds. But what do you know now? You don't know any of this now. For us now, death means death of this personality that I am. Which means what happens to then the masters? What happens to the Jivan Mukta or a Brahmagyani when he is living? he is experiencing the death of the personality. That is why he becomes free. He is a mukta. Mukta, the word mukta is the opposite of baddha. Baddha means to be bound. Mukta means to be free. So he is a mukta because he is no longer bound to this idea of this personality, small personality, limited personality, and hence he doesn't carry the fear of death, because what dies is the personality. See, pain we have even otherwise, right? If you go and hit your leg onto a door, or somebody stamps on your feet, or somebody comes and pokes something onto you, pain on the body level you will still have. I mean, I fear injections like crazy. So when the doctor is coming to poke that injection on me, syringe on me, I am almost... So I think the fear of death is much lesser than that. I'm saying the pain, not the fear. The pain caused due to death is much... It is not... Death happens and then you're released from the body. When you have an injection, you have to endure the pain in the body. In fact, a lot of people that say it's better to die than endure the pain, right? Because the physical pain, while you live, enduring that is far more difficult than you leave the body. But then that is the thing that we fear the most. We fear to leave this body. In fact, I remember my grandmother, my father's mother, she was almost 2 years, she was suffering from cancer, and she had to go. And we knew that it was the last few days of her, this thing. And she's almost struggling to leave. Then the doctor came and checked, and he was like, I mean, she should just, it's time, she's moving on. She has to just, that's all it takes for her to go, right? But still she's hanging on. So then my Periyappa consulted some Vadiyar and all that. Then they said, konjam mannu eduthundu konjam vaayila podungo. Bring some little some granules of sand or mud or whatever, a little bit of that. Put it in her mouth. Because it's said that asai, that desire to stay on this earth, is so strong that even though the body is decaying, the jiva is not able to leave. And when your mind stops functioning consciously, then what remains is just this tendency to hang on. Tendency only remains because you're not conscious anymore. Right? So you're not conscious anymore. So what happens? So they say give something like this, like give some milk or mud. I don't know what is the right word for mud. Mud, is it? Mud or something like that.
மண்ணையோ பொன்னோ மண்ணையோ இதோ கரைச்சு இந்த ஜலத்தை வாயில ஊத்தினா பொண்ணு ஆசையும் இருக்கும் சில பேருக்கு, நக ஆசைகள் எல்லாத்தையும் கரைச்சு வாயில குத்துவா. அதை குத்தினா I think they will help it, then it will be okay.
So whatever goes in, it's a thing that, okay, now I have offered you, fulfill your desire and move. So imagine that, imagine how strong these things are within us, this desire not to go. And that's because I fear losing. I so strongly fear this personality, that not just this personality, it's also the belongings that I have. This also I've told once, right? Very interesting. I've heard it somewhere. There's this man who was about to die in his deathbed, and he's got 4 sons. He's a merchant and he's got 3 sons around him. He asks each one by name. Each one then come to his bedside, and then he asks, where's the 4th boy? Then the 4th boy comes running. He says, I'm also here, Papa. Don't worry. So he's like, okay, all 4 of you are there? Yes, Papa, we're all here. Then he says, who's at the shop? The man is about to die. And his thoughts are, who's at the shop? So this is very, very important. Very important is, if we don't learn how to die while we live, our death, we will still be floating around, right? In some way or the other. Our tendencies will still be floating around. The best way is, if we are graced enough, we should learn how to die gracefully. Right? Die gracefully. Not that, not like that, right? Not like saying, I am ready to die, why am I not dying? That is also a difficult situation. Then you're becoming desperate. Then what remains is frustration. But prepare. Saint Francis of Assisi says, he used to say this, I die daily. D-I-E, by the way, not D-Y-E. He said, I die daily. Kailash ji is smiling.
I do the other day daily.
Kailash is saying, yes, I also die daily. I die daily means every day for me is a new day. It's a new beginning. I am able to die to the past, die to the previous moment that I was, and I'm born again new. Mrityu Mathani. So she is Nirnasha, means she cannot be destroyed. She as in, I cannot be destroyed. I cannot become non-existent. Nirnasha. And Mrityu Mathani. I also do not have this fear of death. This fear that is churning inside me, the most the subtlest of fear that I carry, which manifests itself in different ways. When I do the churn inside me and I find out I have fear of this, I fear of loss, I have fear of losing my name, I have fear of somebody insulting me, I have fear of losing my property, my relationship, my life, whatever. All of these fears, you boil it down, it is loss of fear. It's the fear of loss of who I am, I think. Whatever I think I am, it's a loss of that. So that is, she removes that. She clears us of the fear of death of me. Because what she's pointing out that you are not these things that you think you are. You are not these personality traits. You are not these belongings. You are not these events and situations and all of that. You are that which is the perennial witness to everything. And hence you are Nirnasha. Okay. So 180 and 181. Nirnashayai namaha. Mrityu Mathanyai namaha. Astu. So we'll pause here today. Om Kayena Vacha Manasendriyairva Buddhyatmana va Prakrite Svabhavat Karomi Yatyat Sakalam Parasmai Narayanayeti Samarpayami Sadashivayeti Samarpayami Jagadambikayeti Samarpayami Satgurunathayeti Samarpayami Hari Om Tat Satgurubhyo Namaha Hari Om.